I had night blindness, and on our wedding night, my husband went to be with his ideal first love, letting his buddy take his place in bed with me. They thought I was none the wiser, but they had no idea I had already recovered. Hearing the bedroom door open, I stepped out of the bathroom, toweling my hair. Darling? I saw my husband's buddy, Marcus, frozen in place. I clearly saw his Adam's apple bob. I reached out, groping forward, pretending I couldn't see. Marcus rushed over and caught me. I let my hand glide over his chest, feeling his defined muscles, and he pulled me into an embrace, kissing me passionately, overwhelmingly. My camisole nightgown, which I had just put on, was torn off and fell to the floor. With a spin, we tumbled onto the bed. He kissed me so fiercely I could barely breathe. I only managed to breathe freely the moment his lips moved to my neck. Just as things reached a crucial point, he suddenly stopped, rolled over, and lay beside me on the bed. I reached out to touch his abs. Are you tired from today? He still didn't say a word, so I asked again, darling, could it be that you can't perform? As soon as I finished speaking, he rolled back on top of me, breaking through the last barrier. I let out a soft cry of pain. As if afraid of hurting me, he softened his movements slightly. But once a man gets a taste of intimacy, he can't stop. My waist and legs certainly suffered. It wasn't until nearly dawn that he went into the bathroom. The sound of the shower filled the room, but I was too exhausted to open my eyes. I vaguely felt him gently brush the stray hairs from my forehead and press a kiss there. When I woke up, I was alone in the room. I picked up my phone and saw it was already 11:46 a.m. I opened my unread messages. Jerk, I saw you were still sleeping this morning, didn't have the heart to wake you. Some issues came up at the overseas branch, and the board of directors ordered me to go overseas for a month-long business trip. Take CA. Re of yourself this month, I'll miss you. I sneered. A business trip was merely his excuse. In reality, my so-called newlywed husband was off on a honeymoon with his ideal first love. Just yesterday, right after the wedding ceremony, I went to the dressing room to change into a cocktail dress. When I came out, I overheard my groom, Ethan, chatting with his buddies. One of them said, Ethan really knows how to have fun. Just got married here, and is already off on a honeymoon overseas. Hearing this, my lips curved into a smile. Just as I was about to walk towards them, I heard Marcus's voice. If you have his ideal first love, why would you still marry Grace? His ideal first love? My heart clenched. My foot, already lifted, couldn't take another step. Ethan had his back to me, his hands in his pockets, and a nonchalant expression as he said, Lola is my first love. Who could ever forget their first love? Since she came back to me, of course I should be happy. As for Grace, she's family-oriented, values relationships, and is a very suitable wife. She's highly educated, and a high-ranking executive at Henderson. At such a young age, she secured big contracts for me, greatly helping my career. But I can't lose Lola either. So, I'll just have a wedding first, to give Grace a sense of security. My blood ran cold. Marcus seemed to look in my direction, so I quickly ducked behind a nearby pillar. Then I heard Marcus say, so, you're planning to juggle 2 women? Another person said, hey, Marcus, don't put it so harshly. Our here is simply, enjoying the best of both worlds. Ethan said, alright, I'm done messing around with you guys. Lola must be getting impatient waiting at the airport. Marcus's voice held a hint of displeasure. Are you saying you're going to ditch the bride right now? Ethan said nonchalantly, don't worry, she has night blindness. She can't see anything once it gets dark. Otherwise, which of you buddies wants to fill in for me? Someone said. Isn't that a bit much? She's still your wife, after all. Ethan said, Marcus, you have a similar build to me. Just pretend to be drunk, then leave before dawn. She'll never find out. My phone chimed with a message notification. My love, you worked hard today, my dear. Something urgent came up at the office, I need to go handle it. You should go back and rest first. If I hadn't witnessed firsthand him and his buddies brazenly discussing his ideal first love and his plan to abandon me, I might have truly believed he loved me. It turns out, he was only after my executive position. Heh heh heh. The irony was immense. What he didn't know was that I wasn't just a high-ranking executive at Henderson, I was also the sole heiress of Henderson. I immediately changed his contact name from my love to Jerk. I casually replied, you go ahead and handle it then. Ethan boastfully showed his buddies the message page with my reply. See? I just have to casually mention an urgent company matter, and she dutifully and understandingly tells me to go handle it myself. He patted Marcus's shoulder. Buddy, tonight's all yours. He walked away with light steps, and the others also clamored to return to the banquet for drinks. I immediately sent a message to Dad. Dad, cancel the scheduled investment for Celestial tomorrow. Dad called to ask what happened. I briefly explained the reason and told him I'd go home tomorrow for the full details. Originally, I had planned to take Ethan to the Henderson after the wedding today to reveal my true identity to him. He was close to hitting the jackpot, getting Henderson's backing, which, as he said, would greatly boost his career. Now, I should truly thank him for saving me from that fate. My thoughts returned to the present. I dialed Ethan's number. Just as I expected, his phone was off. He must have thought the investment would go through today, and using the excuse of our wedding and honeymoon, he was openly honeymooning with his ideal first love overseas. He was so arrogant, I couldn't wait to see his face a month from now when he returned and found out the project fell through. I got ready, changed into a sweet dress, and went to the parking garage, walking towards a convertible sports car. This was originally a wedding gift I had planned to give Ethan today, to drive this sports car when we went to register our marriage. Now, it seems some people are destined to never amount to anything significant in this life. I drove the sports car back to the Henderson. Maria, the housekeeper, had just finished setting up lunch and said, "Mrs. back." I nodded. My parents, hearing Maria's voice, walked over from the living room. Mom immediately hugged me. I gently patted Mom's back. "Mom, I'm fine." Dad simply watched us embrace. When let go of me, Dad said, "Let's eat first." Mom nodded. Yes, 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 let's eat first. Today I had Maria make all your favorite dishes. During the meal, Mom kept putting food on my plate, saying I had gotten thin living alone. After getting together with Ethan, to spare his ego and test his character, I bought a spacious apartment. He claimed he couldn't afford a marital home because he hadn't succeeded in his venture yet, so he suggested we use my spacious apartment as our marital home for the time being, promising to buy me a mansion once he made a lot of money later. Mom, still putting food on my plate, cursed, "That jerk." Luckily he was so arrogant, or else my grace would have truly been done wrong. Dad said, "Since you broke up with him, move back home." Mom nodded in agreement. "That's right, Grace. Out there all alone, you had me worried sick. That jerk just abandoned you yesterday. If you hadn't stopped me, I would have personally gone to the airport with people to intercept him and beat him up." I shrugged. "Mom, this just shows he wasn't fortunate enough to become your son-in-law." Mom nodded. "That's true. I won't move back for now. He still thinks I'm kept in the dark, believing he'll definitely secure the investment today and hit the jackpot. If I'm going to act, I might as well go all out." I looked at Dad. "Dad, let's set my inauguration as CEO for a month from now." Hearing this, Mom's eyes lit up. "You finally came to your senses. You should have directly taken over as CEO in the first place, but you insisted on gaining experience in the marketing department. The mere position of director of marketing is hardly worthy of my daughter." That evening, I returned to the apartment I had bought. After I finished showering and came out of the bathroom, I saw Marcus sitting on the small sofa in the bedroom again. I pretended to reach out in front of me, my foot slipped, and I gasped. Marcus darted over and caught me by the waist. I tentatively called out, "Darling?" I saw him swallow. He scooped me up in his arms and placed me on the bed, then turned and went into the bathroom. The rushing sound of water came from inside. Through the glass shower door, I vaguely saw his silhouette as he showered. I found it amusing and felt like teasing him. I walked outside the bathroom, opened the door, and my gaze fell on Marcus's abs. He was clearly startled. "Darling, didn't you say there were issues at the overseas branch and you were going on a month-long business trip?" My answer came when he pulled me toward him. The shower head above us continued to stream down his back as he kissed me passionately. My camisole nightgown slipped to the floor, and with a spin, we tumbled into the bathtub, sending up a huge splash. When I woke up, Marcus was already gone. Over the next month, Marcus appeared promptly every night, spending every night passionately with me. The month flew by, and Ethan should be returning to the country with his ideal first love. I specifically went to the airport to pick him up. I saw him in the distance pushing his luggage, with his ideal first love clinging to his arm, smiling sweetly. They walked along, and laughing all the way, looking every bit like a married couple. I picked up my phone and took a photo of the scene. As I approached, Ethan finally saw me. Startled, he quickly pulled his arm away from his ideal first love's hand and hurried towards me. "Grace, why are you here?" His ideal first love glared, looking at me provocatively from behind him. I smiled, pretending not to notice. "You said you'd be on a business trip for a month. and I thought today should be about time. I didn't know what time your flight was, so I just roughly checked the flights returning from overseas. The arrival times were around these few hours. I didn't expect to be so lucky and catch you right after I arrived. I certainly wasn't going to tell him that I had investigated his flight information and deliberately waited for him at this time. Ethan nodded. Oh, so that's how it is. My gaze then fell on his ideal first love as she approached, and I looked at Ethan quizzically. And who is this? Ethan said, this is Lola, a former classmate from college. She happened to be on the same flight as me. We met when we got off the plane. I saw that a woman carrying so much luggage might find it inconvenient, so I offered to help her with them. I nodded. Is your phone still off? He seemed to just remember he had a phone. He took it out and said with a remorseful expression, sorry, Grace, I was too busy overseas, so my phone was off the whole time. I stared at the dark circles under his eyes. Yes, I can tell you've been quite busy. Sarcastic, so busy he's been, very busy. I couldn't help but think of Marcus's face. He also spent every night passionately with me for an entire month, yet he had no dark circles under his eyes. A man who clearly has endless stamina. Ethan pulled out his phone, and as soon as he turned it on, it started ding-donging non-stop. He frowned, looking at dozens of missed calls from the company, and muttered softly, isn't this supposed to be private home? Immune time? Why are they still contacting me about company matters? I pretended I hadn't heard clearly. What did you say? He smiled and shook his head. Nothing. I was just saying I've been quite busy with the overseas business trip, and I didn't expect them to still need me for things back home. He immediately opened a voice message, and an enraged voice blared from the phone. Ethan, what the hell are you doing? The investment fell through, so you just disappeared on me, huh? Shocked, he quickly turned off the speakerphone and switched to earpiece mode. The more he listened, the darker his expression became. What's wrong? You look unwell. Ethan couldn't be bothered with me at all. He turned to his ideal first love. Lola, go settle in on your own for now. I have something urgent to attend to and need to leave. Ethan took off running. His ideal first love dropped her sweet demeanor that she had in front of Ethan. She reached out to me. My name is Lola. I looked at her hand, but didn't shake it. Instead, I nodded. Your name suits you perfectly. Such a perfect white lotus. Over the past month, I had already ordered someone to investigate Ethan and Lola's past. Lola was no mere former classmate, she was Ethan's childhood sweetheart. As for her appearance, she wasn't as innocent as her name suggested. She was the kind who looked older than her age, probably as they say online, women who have given birth tend to age faster. Ethan really isn't picky at all. People usually look for mistresses who are younger and prettier than their main wife, but he, of all people, found an older mistress? Lola didn't get angry that I ignored her. She withdrew her hand and smoothed the stray hairs from her forehead. To tell you the truth, Ethan didn't go on a business trip this past month. He was on a honeymoon with me. We went to several countries, and he kept calling me baby and clinging to me every day. Lola grinned triumphantly. I frowned in disgust. Ugh. He really isn't picky. She wanted to see me angry, but my calm reaction infuriated her. By the look of you, you already knew. I spread my hands. So what if I did? I'm the only one he's ever truly loved. What does it matter if he had a simple wedding with you? As long as you haven't registered your marriage, you're not his wife. I quickly waved my hand. Listen, lady, don't disgust me. Who wants to register a marriage with him? Since you two are so meant for each other, I wish you two deserve each other. May you be miserable together forever. Lola's expression grew uglier, and I added, you two make sure you stick together and stay locked up and don't go ruining anyone else's lives. With that, I turned and walked away. Lola was so furious she stomped her feet. I turned off the voice recorder in my purse and drove to the hospital. Just as I retrieved my morning blood test results from the report machine, my phone rang. Caller ID, jerk. I glanced at the lab report. The results showed increased progesterone levels, confirming pregnancy. I immediately blocked the jerk's number. Then he sent another voice message. Grace, why can't I reach you? Why was Henderson's investment cancelled? Doesn't that mean all my hard work for so long was for nothing? I'm going to Henderson. Right now. You people must give me an explanation, or else my team will be completely ruined. My phone rang again. This time it was agent calling. I had listed my apartment for sale online. I swiped to answer. Agent's voice came from the other end of the line. Mr. Evans's family has finished viewing your apartment. When would be a good time for you to sign the sales contract? They can sign now. If they want to move in, they can move in today. Just wait for me, I'll be right back. I first took the lab report to the doctor's office. After the doctor told me the fetus was healthy and asked me to come back in 2 weeks for an ultrasound scan, I drove back. Agent and the family B. Boing the apartment were sitting in the living room, waiting for me. As soon as I walked in, Agent quickly stepped forward. Miss, you're back. This is the sales contract drafted according to your requirements. Mr. Evans's family has no issues with the price. If you agree, would you like to sign and complete the transfer paperwork? Mrs. Evans said, Miss, your apartment is so well designed and still so new. Are you really willing to sell it at a low price? I looked at the apartment. Indeed, I hadn't lived in it for more than a few months. I took the contract directly from Agent's hand, signed 2 copies, and handed them to Mrs. Evans. Mrs. Evans then smiled with satisfaction. Mr. Evans was also a straightforward person. He immediately transferred the money. I took out $10,000 in cash from my purse. This was Alex's commission. Alex was beaming with joy, calling me sis repeatedly. The transfer procedures are in your hands. You can move in today. With that, I left. Alex repeatedly assured me, don't worry, sis, I'll handle it quickly. As soon as I returned to the Henderson, the jerk's barrage of voice messages started again. What on earth are you doing? Why can't I reach you? I went to Henderson to find you, but the front desk wouldn't let me up. I went home to find you, and a man answered the door. He even had security guards kick me out of the neighborhood. What have you been doing behind my back this past month while I was away? Why did that man say it was his house? The reason I hadn't blocked him on WhatsApp yet was that I wanted to see his reaction when he found out I had sold the apartment. Seeing that I was ignoring him, he softened his tone and sent another message. Grace, you know how important the collaboration with Henderson is to me. As of marketing, you can't possibly not know the reason. As I drank the special health tonic Maria had just stewed, he called me via video. I answered. On the video call, I was in the mansion, eating my special health tonic. I saw Ethan's grim expression. You finally decided to answer? Where are you? Why was the promised investment from Henderson cancelled? Do you know this is a huge disaster for me? Everyone on my team lost their jobs because the investment didn't materialize. Even I have to bear the company's losses. I continued to eat my special health tonic bite by bite. Ethan finally showed his ugly true colors. Did you latch onto some rich guy while I was on my business trip overseas? I swallowed the last mouthful of special health tonic, looked up at the jerk on the screen. You kept rambling on and on. Which part do you want me to answer? He finally quieted down, waiting for my reply. Ethan, were you really on a business trip overseas this past month? He visibly relaxed. Grace, how could you ask such a thing? Didn't I tell you? Some issues came up at the overseas branch, so I went to handle it. Since you say it was a business trip, then why, throughout this entire month, were you unaware that Henderson hadn't invested? What? Did you cut off all contact with the company while on your trip? Then please tell me, how did you cooperate with the company's work? Ethan clearly hadn't thought about how to answer this question. After all, he thought the investment was a sure thing, and this was a blatant slap in his face. He said, so, you manipulated things, didn't you? Why would you do that? I'm your husband. What good would it do you if my career declines? I quickly held up a hand. Hold on. We only had a simple wedding ceremony. We haven't even met each other's parents, let alone registered our marriage. So, at most, I can say, I was blind to agree to date you for a few months. Ethan gritted his teeth in fury. Grace, do you think just because you ruined our collaboration, I won't have any other opportunities? Someone higher up at Henderson must have taken an interest in my project for them to agree to invest before. I heard Henderson's new CEO takes office tomorrow. Even without you, I can still secure investments. I nodded non-committally. Then, I wish you success. I ended the video call and deleted his contact. Mom returned with the stylist. Grace, come, it's time to get styled. Look at these gowns Mom picked for you, they're sure to stun everyone. I looked at the gowns being wheeled in, they were all very eye-catching. Mom, I'm just taking over as CEO, not entering a beauty pageant. And most of the company employees already know me, so, it doesn't need to be so elaborate, does it? Without another word, Mom picked up a white, diamond-encrusted, form-fitting gown and held it against me. This one makes my Grace look elegant, but it's missing something. She then picked up a red strapless gown and held it against me. This one makes my Grace's fair skin, beauty, and long legs shine. Wear this one first, we'll keep the others on standby. I nodded. All right. I went to change into the red gown, and the stylist did my hair and makeup. When I arrived at the banquet hall, the company's executives and many business partners were already there. After the host gave a brief welcome and introduction, Dad went on stage. He said, "I'm delighted you all came to the banquet. Tonight, I am announcing that my daughter will formally take over as CEO of Henderson." The host beside him said, "A round of applause for our new CEO, please." I walked onto the stage in my high heels, amidst the applause, to stand beside Dad. My eyes immediately fell on Marcus, who was standing very close to the stage. Why was he here? A brief flicker of surprise crossed my mind before I took the microphone the host handed me. "Hello everyone, I'm Grace. From now on, I will be taking over as CEO of Henderson. I hope you will all be supportive in the future." Someone in the audience said, "Isn't that director from Henderson's marketing department? It seems president has been training at the grassroots level. Chairman really knows how to raise a daughter, to cultivate such an outstanding daughter who, at such a young age, can serve as the group's CEO." Some partners in the audience had already begun to offer their compliments. Dad's face glowed with incredible pride. When first returned to the country, I wanted her to take over as CEO, but she insisted on gaining experience at the foundational level first, so she could better understand the company. I simply let her do as she wished. That's why they say, like father, like daughter. Chairman is so impressive, and his daughter is just as outstanding. Dad took me off stage to meet some partners I didn't recognize and some members of the board of directors. I could tell that some people were merely flattering Dad, and there were even some who resented me, so young, taking over the group, but they were reluctant to make a scene with so many people around. I carried a glass of juice and followed Dad as he made a round of toasts. "I apologize, I'm not good with alcohol, so I'll substitute juice for wine. I hope you gentlemen will excuse me." A rather greasy-looking man offered me a glass of red wine. Young people nowadays, how can you get by without drinking? President will have many social engagements in the future. Refusing to drink would be disrespecting us, wouldn't it? A hand reached out from in front of me and took the glass of wine, with a slightly impatient tone. "She said she's not good with alcohol. Didn't you hear her?" I followed the hand with my gaze. Marcus had appeared beside me without me noticing. The greasy man glared at Marcus. "Who are you? What business is it of yours?" Marcus casually twirled the wine glass in his hand, his thin lips parting. "The forecast is bleak for your company." Marcus paused, his sharp gaze fixed on the greasy man, then continued, "It's about to go bankrupt." The greasy man burst out laughing as if he had heard the most ridiculous thing. "Ha ha ha. Who do you think you are? An alpha CEO? You must what? Ch too many TikTok videos. You just say bankrupt and it happens? Do you know who I am? Do you know my company's capabilities?" Marcus took out his phone and pressed a few buttons. The greasy man thought he was showing off and waited, clearly expecting a show. Seeing put his phone back in his pocket without any further action, the greasy man spread his hands. "That's it? Nothing more?" Marcus casually tugged at his tie. 3, 2, 1. As one dropped, the greasy man's phone suddenly rang. His smile vanished. He pulled out his phone to answer, and his face instantly turned ashen. He looked at Marcus in disbelief. After hanging up, he still hadn't recovered. "Who exactly are you?" Marcus ignored him. Instead, he extended a hand in a gentlemanly gesture to me. "May I have the honor of this dance, miss?" I took a step forward. With his current posture, my lips were just close enough to his ear. I whispered, "It seems you're quite an influential person, band." Marcus turned his head in shock, his lips brushing against mine slightly. I quickly pulled away. Ignoring his shock, I walked out. As soon as I exited the main lobby entrance, I saw Ethan and Lola being stopped by security guards. Lola was dressed to the nines, arm in arm with Ethan, arguing with the security guards, trying to sneak into the banquet. The security guards asked them to leave, citing that they didn't have invitations. Lola saw me first. She said, "Isn't that miss?" Ethan's gaze also fell on me. Ethan immediately pointed at me. "I'm her husband. If she can go in, why can't I?" The security guard looked back at me and immediately became respectful. I raised my hand and said, "I don't know them." The security guard's expression towards them became more serious. "Sir, you cannot enter without an invitation. Please leave immediately." Ethan's eyes widened in frustration. "Grace, are you really going to be so heartless? You won't let me in because you're afraid I'll meet your new CEO, afraid he'll take an interest in my project and reinvest." I nodded. If you think your project is so excellent, why are you stubbornly clinging to Henderson?" You can go find other companies to secure investments. I shrugged. I couldn't describe how satisfying it was to see the jerk so anxious and irritated. You. Ethan was speechless with fury at my words. Lola said, yes, Ethan, I think what she says isn't unreasonable. Your project is so excellent, Henderson. Is short-sighted. I saw in a business magazine that the young of Hayes in Northwood is returning. Hayes also has a branch office here in Harbor City. If your project can get the attention of Hayes, wouldn't that be an even more powerful backer? Ethan's eyes immediately lit up. He clearly thought Lola's proposal was excellent. He grasped Lola's hand. Lola, I knew it. Having you is my good fortune. Lola leaned against Ethan's shoulder, wearing a coy expression. I clapped my hands. You two truly are a match made in heaven. Or rather, Lola, Ethan. TSK TSK TSK. Doesn't that sound like a manipulative white lotus and a whole pond of fools to choose from? How fitting. Lola's expression shifted slightly, and Ethan's face was also quite grim. Grace, don't talk nonsense. I've told you, Lola is just a former classmate. Lola and I are innocent and pure. Why do you insist on having such a filthy mind? Even the security guard couldn't stand it. You keep saying you're president's husband, so why is your female companion this, older mistress? To be called an older mistress even by the security guard, Lola's expression changed drastically. I couldn't help but burst out laughing. I gave a thumbs up to the security guard. Well said. Your monthly salary is doubled. The security guard nodded at me. Thank you, President. President and director, just one word different. Ethan didn't notice it at the moment. He glared at me angrily. Grace, what do you mean by this? You're just letting your company's flunky eye insult Lola? I spread my hands. Such a perfect white lotus, with such obvious wrinkles on her face. She's probably more than a decade older than you, isn't she? Lola frantically touched her face. Despite her heavy makeup, it still couldn't conceal her laugh lines and crow's feet, especially since she was already a few years older than Ethan. Lola's eyes were already brimming with tears. Ethan, I can't compare to Mrs. Youth and Beauty. You should just forget about me with that. She covered her face and ran off. Lola. Ethan called out to Lola's retreating back. Lola didn't look back, covering her face with one hand and clutching her gown's hem with the other as she ran out. He looked at the sky growing darker outside, a flicker of cunning in his eyes. He turned back to me. My business trip right after we got married is between us. Why are you taking it out on Lola? Why are you involving the project? I glanced at the darkening sky outside, knowing he wanted to stall for time, waiting for it to get dark to use my night blindness against me. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. First, you should take a long hard look at yourself. Second, your ideal first love is only 6 years older than you, so why does she look like she's 16 years older? I gasped and covered my lips. Oh. I heard women who have given birth tend to age faster. Could it be that your ideal first love had children with someone else overseas and then came back to make a sucker out of you? I looked at the top of his head, as if I could already see that he had been cuckolded. No wonder your head has become a vast green pasture. Ethan's face turned indescribably ugly. He seemed to look past me and saw someone. He called out, Marcus, come here and help me explain. I was on a business trip overseas this past month, but Grace misunderstood. Marcus walked over, glancing thoughtfully at the top of Ethan's head. It certainly looks like a vast green pasture. I couldn't help but scoff. And Ethan's face grew even uglier. Ethan glared at Marcus in dissatisfaction. Marcus, what are you saying? Nothing. I just happened to see some photos. The person in the photos looks quite similar to your older mistress. As spoke, he actually turned his phone screen towards Ethan. I glimpsed what was displayed on the phone screen, intimate photos of Lola with various men overseas, and even her overseas marriage certificate. One photo was particularly graphic. It was her in a bikini with 3 men. Marcus suddenly raised his hand and covered my eyes. The images are too filthy. Don't stain your eyes. I heard Ethan's hysterical voice. This is fake. These must be photoshopped pictures. Lola couldn't be this kind of person. Marcus replied cooperatively, perhaps they're fake. But judging by the dates and locations, they were taken during the years she was overseas and out of contact with you. Ethan then suddenly fixed his gaze on Marcus and me, a suspicious look on his face. You too? I immediately linked my arm with Marcus's. Marcus's face showed a look of pleasure. I stared at Ethan and said, Isn't this the groom you personally sent to my bed? Ethan's expression changed drastically. He furiously grabbed Marcus. Bastard! Who told you to touch her? His fist was about to strike, but Marcus retaliated with a punch that sent him to the ground. I told the security guards to ignore them and walked out. As soon as I arrived at the parking garage, several men dressed like thugs blocked my way. One of them whispered to Scar, who was next to him, "Boss, it should be dark outside now, right? This woman doesn't seem like she can't see." Scar sized me up, and I sized them up. Scar said, "Maybe it's not completely dark yet." Another man rubbed his hands together in anticipation, constantly licking his lips, and said with a lecherous expression, "Don't even mention it, this woman truly has the legendary fair skin, beauty, and long legs. She's really going to be our easy target." I looked past them and saw Lola's gown's hem peeking out from behind a pillar ahead. "Do you know who I am? How dare you block my path?" The man beside Scar said, "Aren't you just a pretty blind woman who can't see at night? It's your privilege to play with us guys." My gaze swept over him. "Oh? You think I'm blind?" Under my stare, the man was visibly startled. He leaned closer to Scar, still uncertain, and whispered, "She doesn't seem blind at all." I extended my hand, looking at my freshly manicured nails, and said calmly, "I'll give you one chance. Whatever you were told to do to me, go do it to her instead. Otherwise..." I looked at them and shook my head. Ethan had told everyone he knew that I had night blindness, so Lola even thought of using this to harm me. Too bad for them. What they didn't know was that I had competed in international martial arts competitions and was the women's division champion. Scar laughed. "Oh ho, big talk." He swung a punch at me. I seized his wrist, and to his shock, his scream was ear-piercing. His minions were all bewildered. "Boss, what's wrong?" With a forceful twist, I broke his wrist, then kicked him away. Someone quickly rushed over to help him up, and only then did the look in their eyes change. Instantly, someone else spotted Lola trying to escape. "Boss, that nasty woman is over there." So, the group chased after Lola again. As I drove out of the parking garage and rounded the corner, I saw Lola being dragged into a corner, her mouth covered. Her struggling, unwilling reflection was in my rearview mirror, then vanished as my car turned. The next day, I changed into my business casual outfit. As I came downstairs, ready to eat breakfast and head to work, I found the living room filled with various exquisite gift boxes. Marcus was chatting happily with Dad and Mom. The moment Mom saw me, she quickly came over, taking my arm and saying, "Grace, you're up. Look, Marcus came to see you first thing this morning." Gee. I was baffled. Marcus had bruises at the corners of his eyes and mouth. Clearly, they were from his fight with Ethan yesterday. He stood up, his hands clasped in front of him, looking a bit helpless. "Grace, I cut him off. Young Marcus, this game is over." Seeing my unfavorable attitude, Mom quickly said, "What's wrong?" "Grace, you might not remember, but you used to love following Marcus around when you were little." I was baffled. How come I don't remember knowing Marcus when I was a child? Marcus looked as if he'd been terribly wronged. "It's all right, Auntie. I must have upset Grace, that's why she's treating me this way. It's all my fault." I stared at Marcus, incredulous. He looked exactly like a child caught doing something wrong, standing there on the verge of tears but holding them back. Was this really the Marcus I knew? "No, Mom," I said, "how come I don't remember knowing him when I was little?" Mom pulled Marcus and me to sit down, one on each side. "Oh, I already told you, you probably just forgot. When your grandpa was still alive, his grandpa's house was next door to Marcus's grandpa's. Marcus would stay at his grandpa's, and you'd follow Marcus around all day. You even played house and said you wanted to be his bride." Hearing's words, Marcus quickly said, "Auntie, I'm here to fulfill a promise. To be honest, I've taken the liberty to disturb you today because I wish to ask for Grace's hand in marriage from you and Uncle, and I hope you will approve of our union." As if realizing it might seem improper to come alone, he quickly added, "My parents are already on their way to Harbor City. By my estimation, they'll arrive shortly with the engagement gifts." The moment Mom heard Marcus was here to ask for my hand in marriage, her eyes lit up. Then, as if remembering something, she said with a slightly odd expression, "But my Grace just broke up with that jerk. Would you mind?" Marcus shook his head emphatically. He even pointed to the bruises on his face, showing them off like trophies, and said, "Auntie, look. These bruises are from my fight with that jerk yesterday. He hurt Grace so badly. If it weren't for the law, I swear I would have beaten him to death." Hearing say this, Mom's eyes brightened even more. "Exactly. That jerk is completely blind." Then she showed concern for Marcus's bruises. "Marcus, wait here. Auntie will go get you the first aid kit. You need to put some antiseptic on that. we can't have such a handsome face getting scarred. Maria walked over and said, "Sir, guests have arrived." Dad said, "Please, invite them in quickly." Maria said, "Sir, perhaps you should go and see for yourself." I saw Marcus smile. He stood up. Mom had already returned with the first aid kit. "Hey, where are you going?" "Come on, Marcus, let's put some medicine on that first." Marcus obediently sat back down. Just as I was about to go out with Dad to see, Mom shoved the first aid kit into my hands. "Here, Grace, Marcus fought that jerk for you. It's only right that you apply the medicine." Without another word, Mom shoved the first aid kit into my hands and then followed Dad and Maria out. Marcus looked at me with a perfectly innocent expression. "Then I'll trouble you, Grace." I saw his lips twitching into a smile that he found hard to suppress. I took out a cotton swab, dipped it in antiseptic solution, and pressed it slightly hard on his bruise. The pain made him gasp. His eyes misted over as he looked up at me and said, "Grace, are you trying to murder your husband-to-be?" I frowned. "Don't talk nonsense. I haven't agreed to marry you." Just as I was about to turn away, he pulled me, and I tumbled onto his lap. He leaned into my ear and whispered, "But, every night you call me your husband." His warm breath on my ear sent shivers down my spine. Dad and Mom had already entered with the guests. They walked in just as this was happening. They all quickly turned their backs and said, "It seems we've arrived at an inconvenient time." We didn't see anything. I didn't see a thing. I quickly pushed him away and stood up. The curve of his smile wouldn't disappear. I silently cursed him, what a charming devil. He, however, rose as if nothing had happened. "Dad, Mom, you've finally arrived." Dad and Mom led his parents to the sofa. I used the excuse that I was hungry and hadn't eaten breakfast yet, and planned to go to the dining room for it. Mom then said, "Marcus arrived so early, he surely hasn't had breakfast either. Why don't you take Marcus with you to eat?" Marcus surprisingly nodded in full agreement. "I'm so hungry right now I could eat a horse." So, Dad and Mom and his parents discussed our marriage in the living room, while he and I ate breakfast in the dining room. Despite the large dining table, he insisted on sitting right next to me. Just as I was about to drink my soy milk, he already picked up a glass and placed it in my hand. When I was about to eat some fruit, he forked a strawberry and held it to my lips. It was as if he could read my mind, always knowing what I was thinking a step ahead of me. I looked at him suspiciously. He smiled playfully at me. "What's wrong? Is there something on my face?" He even touched his own face. "Marcus, even though things happened between us, what makes you think I'd agree to marry you? Ethan is a complete jerk. But what good are you, collaborating with him and treating me like a plaything? I only went along with your act because of your good genes, and you actually took it seriously?" In an instant, I watched as his playful smile vanished, replaced by misty, tearful eyes. He pressed his lips together. "I know it was wrong, but Grace, the reason Enough. I don't want to hear it." I didn't listen to his explanation. I stood up and left. Yet, why did my heart ache faintly? I sat in the CEO's office, trying to forget things by focusing on work, but Marcus's terribly wronged expression kept reappearing in my mind. I irritably closed the folder and walked out. Just as I stepped out of the office building, I saw the guest from my house this morning, Mrs. Helen, Marcus's mom. She stood outside the office building. A bodyguard held a parasol over her. Seeing me emerge, she walked over. "Grace, may I have a word with you?" I nodded. "Aunt, on such a hot day, what are you doing?" She smiled and said, "I heard you just started your new position today. I figured you'd be very busy, so I didn't want to disturb you. I waited here, hoping to catch you." I pointed to a nearby coffee shop. "Aunt, let's go sit and talk over there." We entered the coffee shop and sat in a booth by the window, watching the bustling street outside. She handed me a very thick journal. As I wondered, she said, "Open it and take a look." I opened the journal. The very first page revealed photos of me from childhood, with text written beneath them. "Today is the first day I met Grace. Grace is so adorable, I love hearing her call me her big brother. Today was bullied. I beat up the kid who bullied her until he was crying for his mom on the ground. I must protect Grace, always. Mr. Henderson said Grace should learn martial arts so she won't be bullied again. I also need to get stronger, so I can always protect Grace." Flipping through, there were many more photos and notes. There was also a photo of Ethan confessing his feelings to me. The note read, "Grace has grown up." The first day I returned from overseas, I flew directly to Harbor City to find Grace. But I was a step too late, she had already accepted someone else's confession. Still, I won't give up. I deliberately got close to Grace's boyfriend, Ethan. If he dares to hurt Grace, I won't let him get away with it first. I saw Grace, but I was so sad. I deliberately revealed my name to her, but Grace didn't remember me at all. Wah. Grace has night blindness and can't see at night. Ethan, because of a call from his ideal first love, actually abandoned Grace outside. He carelessly told someone to take Grace home, not even worrying if Grace would be hurt. So, I volunteered to take Grace home. That jerk Ethan, with his ideal first love in his heart, actually wanted to string Grace along with a wedding, simply because Grace is an executive at Henderson and could bring him deals. I will definitely make Grace see his true colors. There was also a photo of me in a wedding dress. The note read, "Grace is so beautiful, but that cheap wedding dress doesn't suit Grace at all." How dare Ethan insult Grace like that? He actually exploited Grace's night blindness, wanting someone else to take his place for the wedding night with Grace. I will never allow anyone to hurt Grace. Grace's groom will only be me, and it can only be me. The journal was very thick, filled with many photos of me, and everything Marcus had quietly done without my knowledge. Tears blurred my vision without me realizing it. Long-forgotten memories flooded my mind. I closed the journal, my voice thick with emotion. "Aunt, where is he?" "He should be at the place where you first met now." I immediately headed outside. "The place we first met, that's the neighborhood where my grandpa lived when he was alive." I floored the accelerator, feeling like today's red lights were endlessly long. Finally, I reached the neighborhood where my grandpa used to live. The only difference from my memory was that the trees along the road were much larger. From the car, I saw Marcus beneath the shade of the trees. I got out of the car and called out to his back, "Marcus." Marcus turned around and saw me. He froze in surprise. I ran quickly towards him and threw myself into his arms. He was so stunned he didn't know what to do. "Grace? I'm not dreaming, am I?" I looked at his dazed expression. I stood on tiptoe and kissed him on the lips. "It's not a dream. It's me, Grace." His pupils constricted. Before he could react, I added, "Marcus, thank you. You walked 99 steps towards me. The last step, I'll take towards you." He finally reacted. He wrapped one arm around my waist and placed the other on the back of my head, and kissed me passionately. Until I was breathless, he finally released me, only to hold me in a tight embrace again. "Grace, I thought you'd never want to see me again." His voice held a hint of a choke. I patted his back soothingly. "Since you love me so much, I'll tell you a secret." He released me. I took my previous prenatal checkup report from my purse and handed it to him. He took it, and his eyes flashed with wild joy as he read it. I said with a smile, "Congratulations, Mr. Hayes, you're going to be a father." He wrapped his arms around my waist and spun me around several times, causing passersby to turn and stare. Marcus and I had a grand wedding. We would be happy forever. Thank you for watching today's story. If you liked this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.